How many queries are you getting on a daily, weekly basis? Just estimate.
I probably get I don't know, 100, 150 a day.
Gotcha. And I had Lindsay Eager, previous guest, check the back catalog, esteemed author, well worth your time. She had worked as an assistant for Mary Cole, and she let me know that one of the things that gave her the most confidence as an author was reading the submissions that came through, because she said she estimated that about 80% of them were ridiculously, woefully unqualified, could immediately be rejected. Is that a fair estimate, you think?
80%? Wow, that's super high. Just outright rejected based on the query?
I don't
Um,
know. Your inbox isn't the one she was looking at. What would you say it is?
for me, I mean, let's see. I hate having to ask, like, give me a statistic, give me a number. Like when I go through my inbox, I mean, I can definitely go through and see like the things that I haven't asked for. Like if it's a genre, you know what I mean? Like, okay, no, I don't represent that. Or I mean, so there's I ask for a certain way to format, like if you have the wrong name, or if you have sometimes people put like a crazy like sentences, like just weird stuff. It's like I can tell that you didn't read the submission guidelines. You know what I mean? Like, so your agents are looking for clues that this is not that this person had like they're professional, that they're really taking the business serious, that they've done their research, that they're submitting to the right person. And sometimes you can tell just right off the bat that they basically disqualify themselves with their query. So that percentage um, that do that kind of thing would be it's much lower than 80%. I mean, I would say like 10 to 15% just immediately disqualify themselves. Once I get past that, and then I'm looking at the one I'm reading, um, then like accounting for like poorly written, or you can tell that they're not ready for an agent, they need more craft classes. That's where it's really like the number goes up. I think many people are pitching agents before they're ready to do so. Like I hate to say this, but if you are on your first book, your baby, you're probably your first book is never going to be your best book. You know, it's not. You know, a lot of times when you have a writer and they're like, this is their debut novel, they've probably written 3 books before. You know, this is only the first book that has come out. So, you know, a lot of times, so that number, I would say, I don't know, 60% should not be querying. So I guess if you add that to like the 10, 15%, we're getting closer to that 75%. So, I mean, there's some very like, there are reasons that things are immediately like removed. So I guess that number is high. Maybe 75, 80% are just aren't ready to be pitching. So yeah.
Just speaking from my personal experience, I have never been more confident in a book than I was my first book. Back before I knew what I was doing, I couldn't have been more confident. Every book since, like, oh my, now I know all the things that could be improved. That's many years ago, and so now I'm a little bit more humble about how I put something together. But that first book, it's gold. Print that thing. Let's sell.
It's not abnormal to think that every writer's like I have, because like everyone who has like actually written a book for the first time, like they deserve kudos for like actually completing a book. You know, like it's hard, it's not easy to like write a book and be done, you know what I mean, and to go through revisions and like okay, it's done. It's just that but like I said, there are exceptions to every rule. There's somebody who has written a first book, it's the first book they ever wrote, and it's like it's amazing. That does happen, but it's not the norm, you know what I mean? So I love it when someone has sends me a query, and I'll always ask them if I ever get to we're having a conversation. So how many books have you written before this? Like I'm hoping they're like 2 or 3, because then I know that what I have is not gonna, you know what I mean? It's not gonna have the mistakes of like a first book. It's gonna be by the time you have written 2 or 3 books, practice novels, that fourth book or that third or fourth book, it's probably gonna be well written. you've worked out the kinks. You've learned how to plot. You've learned how to do natural dialogue. You've learned how to, create natural flesh and blood characters. And those are things that, like writing a book is a long, arduous process, but you have to practice writing. I guess you could do it with like short stories. You could really, or novellas or something like that. But most people that want to write books, they just like write a book. But it's like you need to learn how to write. You can only learn how to write a novel by writing novels, right? So you have to write 2 or 3 novels before you really get to that point where you're like, I need it. I'm good. I'm ready for an agent, and an agent wants to see that. Nobody wants to hear that, because that's like, sometimes it may take you like 2 years to write a book, or 6 months or 9 months. Like no one wants to hear like I need to do 2 or 3 of those before I get an agent. But it assures usually that when you finally are done with all that practice, you've got a really well-written book, probably.
Wasn't the legend that Stephanie Meyer had a dream and then got up and wrote her first book, and it was obviously perfect, no room for criticism. Twilight is probably our finest piece of literature. Leave me alone in the comments. Anyway.
That, when people dream up a book, I don't know where that's coming from, but I've heard that before. I actually have a client who has published many books, and one of her ideas, she says, was like a fully formed idea that came to in a dream. And historically that has happened to people, so if you dream an entire book, then that might be like divinely sent to you, and you're going to be like famous and make a bunch of money and have TV shows, and it can happen. Never say never.
Well, that's how every writer should begin every query, even if it's not true. This was divinely inspired, because how can you reject something that was divinely inspired? Although, presumably, if that's happening, then you will also have a premonition or a vision that, this book is coming to my inbox today. I better pay attention for it.